Hello and Mingalaba. Welcome to MI Radio's Myanmar Today. I'm Henry Zin. Proposal to terminate duty of Pyithu Hluttaw Speaker sees failure at the Hluttaw. UEC's preparations for a general election underway despite pandemic. Election likely to be held in November. A story coverage on online book delivery service coming into widespread use amid COVID-19. All of that coming up later, but for now let's take a look at what's happening in local news. The Union Supreme Court passed judgment on 5 special criminal appeal cases and 8 special civil appeal cases, along with hearing 6 special civil appeal cases on Monday. Chief Justice of the Union Supreme Court, U and all Union Supreme Court judges led the judgments at Union Supreme Court Room No. 1 in accordance with orders, directions and guidelines of the National Level Committee on Prevention, Control and Treatment of Coronavirus Disease and Ministry of Health and Sports. Myanmar citizens who wanted to come back from Australia, New Zealand and Papua New Guinea arrived at the Yangon International Airport Monday evening. Myanmar Airways International carried 83 persons in the relief flight arranged by the government through Sydney. On arrival at the airport, the Ministry of Labour, Immigration and Population, the Ministry of Health and Sports and the Yangon Region government helped for their 21-day quarantine period at the designated places in line with guidelines of immigration and healthcare processes. Due to the temporary suspension of international flights, Myanmar nationals from foreign countries faced difficulties to return to Myanmar. In accordance with the directives of National Level Central Committee on Prevention, Control and Treatment of Coronavirus Disease, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in coordination with Myanmar embassies and other relevant ministries in Myanmar, arranged relief flights to bring back 2,830 Myanmar citizens as of June 1st. A special flight carrying regular vaccinations and COVID-19 test kits landed in Yangon International Airport Monday afternoon. The medical items and equipment were purchased through UNICEF by the Ministry of Health and Sports for the national vaccination program that will be resuming. The special flight was arranged by UNICEF and is part of the organization's continuous support in Myanmar's push against the disease. The cargo contained 10,000 test kits for COVID-19 and 1.16 million regular vaccination vials and will be distributed to relevant departments of the Ministry of Health and Sports. UNICEF and the Myanmar government collaborated with WHO, Gavi, and other affiliated organizations to bring the vaccines to Myanmar. UNICEF also supplied COVID-19 test kits to Myanmar with the help of Gavi in May, and WHO has also supplied medicine and other items for controlling and treating the disease. India, China, South Korea, Singapore, and Japan have also supplied medicine, equipment, and medical assistance to Myanmar concerning COVID-19. Magwe region experienced 118 strong winds events between 1st of April and 31st of May, affecting 10,980 local people. Strong winds wreaked havoc in the region in the past 2 months. A total of 115 houses collapsed and 2,681 houses are partially destroyed. And 2,776 households were hit hard by the strong wind, leaving 4 injured and 3 dead. 1 religious building also collapsed, and 58 more buildings are partially destroyed. Myenso, head of Magwe Region Disaster Management Department, said, during the 2-month period, the victims of strong winds have been provided contributions for food, construction of the houses. Those people from collapsed houses have been supported 17 emergency items totaling 123.7 million kyats. Last year, there were 143 cases of strong wind in the region. The Regional Disaster Management Department handed out 210.2 million kyats for those who have been affected by the strong winds. A total of 1,043 Myanmar citizens returned home from Thailand through Myanmar-Thai Friendship Bridge 2 of Myawaddy border town in Kayin State on Monday. Among them, the 308 persons took 15 buses from Mochit Bus Terminal in Bangkok to Myanmar under negotiations of the 2 governments and arrangement of the Myanmar Embassy in Thailand, while the remaining 735 persons came back home in their own schedules. Kayin State Hluttaw MP U and local officials helped the returnees with medical tests and other supplies. Myanmar migrant workers have been repatriated from Thailand since the 1st of May, and a total of 12,687 people have arrived back home until now. The latest group of returnees include 647 men and 396 women from different regions and states. That's all with the local news. Let's take a look at the first report now. On the sixth day of the second Pyithu Hluttaw's 16th regular session, it failed to seek approval for the proposal to terminating the duty of the Speaker of Pyithu Hluttaw, The Hluttaw representatives from both supportive and opposing sides of the proposal discussed, and the result showed that the proposal did not receive the required number of votes in favour. Pyithu will tell us more.
The proposal to terminate the duty of Pyithu Hluttaw Speaker failed to seek approval at the 6th day of second Pyithu Hluttaw 16th regular session. The proposal was signed and submitted by 110 Pyithu Hluttaw representatives, and 24 Hluttaw representatives discussed the proposal from both supportive and opposed sides. Hluttaw representatives from Tamador and members of Union Solidarity and Development Party mostly supported the proposal to recall the Speaker of Pyithu Hluttaw from duty. According to 110 Hluttaw representatives, the reason of submitting proposal to terminate the duty of the Speaker of Pyithu Hluttaw is that Speaker was accused of violating the provisions of the Constitution and not being able to fulfill the duties assigned by the law during the service as the Speaker of Pyithu Hluttaw. The supportive Hluttaw representatives repeated and highlighted that Speaker did not approve some questions and critical proposals, and he did allow forming 45-member committee for constitutional amendment. From the opposed side, the Hluttaw representatives explained that the critical proposals and questions are not in line with the criteria mentioned in the Pyithu Hluttaw rules, and they said that the Speaker has the lawful authority to decide giving approval to questions and proposals.
ကျွန်တော်အနေနဲ့ဒုတိယချက်ဖြစ်တဲ့ပြည်ထောင်စုလွှတ်တော်နဲ့ပြည်သူ့လွှတ်တော်မှာတင်သွင်းခဲ့တဲ့အရေးကြီးဆို9ခုကိုဆွေးနွေးခွင့်မပြုတာနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးအကြောင်းပြဆွဆွဲချက်ပေါ်မှာသုံးသပ်ဆွေးနွေး
I want to discuss some matters relating to the Speaker of Pyithu Hluttaw not approving some critical proposals. To extract some mentioned proposals, the proposal to discuss with the National Defense and Security Council concerning the outbreak of the COVID-19 in Myanmar is not in accordance with the criteria of critical proposals mentioned in the law. Moreover, some are not reasonable. For example, the proposal to postpone increasing electric bill because of burden on citizens' livelihood was submitted just after 15 days of announcing increased rate of electric bill, so it was not depending on the practical research.
Mentioned in the proposal of terminating the duty of the Pyithu Hluttaw Speaker, the Hluttaw representatives assumed that approving the critical proposal to form a committee for constitutional amendment and forming a 45-member committee was not in line with the law. Then, from the opposed side, it was mentioned that the critical proposal was submitted because of the current circumstances of the public supporting and demanding for constitutional amendment. The Constitutional Tribunal of Myanmar has already decided that the constitutional amendment procedures were in line with the Constitution provisions.
Since the Speaker was elected with the agreement of majority of Hluttaw representatives, the Speaker has the lawful authority to decide the questions and the proposals in line with the criteria mentioned in the law. If the Hluttaw representative thinks he or she loses the right as Hluttaw representative because of not getting approved for the proposals or question, it can be lawfully solved at Hluttaw Rights Committee. However, it is found out that the Hluttaw representatives who submitted the proposal to recall the duty of Pyithu Hluttaw Speaker never discussed with Hluttaw Rights Committee.
The proposal can be approved with the votes of over two-thirds of Hluttaw representatives after the digital voting, with 132 votes in favor and 243 votes in oppose. It failed to continue the proposal of terminating the duty of the Pyithu Hluttaw Speaker. has been serving as the Speaker of Pyithu Hluttaw starting from 2018, and at present, he is also serving as the Speaker of Pyithu Hluttaw. That's all for now. This is Tora Suisin from MI Radio.
That's a report on the failed proposal to terminate the duty of Pyithu Hluttaw Speaker at the Hluttaw. All right, we'll move on to the next report. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, the election is likely to be held in November, similar to those held in 2010 and 2015. On the sixth day of Myanmar Today's 16th regular session, Ugogo 9, Hluttaw representative of Sagaing Region Constituency 8, raised the question about the government's preparation and plan to prevent the voters from losing their rights to vote conveniently in 2020 general election. Pyithu and Zueman report.
Political parties, election-related organizations, and political analysts are worried that general elections might not be held during this year due to the coronavirus outbreak. A senior official of Union Election Commission said that despite the COVID-19 pandemic, the election would be likely to be held in November, similar to those held in 2010 and 2015. It was learned that Umyanai, a member of Union Election Commission (UEC), told Myanmar Radio and Television (Myanmar TV) that the accurate date would be announced later. The Myanmar Today 16 regular section continued its 6-day meeting yesterday morning. Firstly, Ugogo 9, Hluttaw representative, Sagaing Region Constituency 8, raised the asterisk mark question about the government's preparation and plan to prevent the voters from losing their rights to vote conveniently in 2020 general election. Ugogo 9, Hluttaw representative, Sagaing Region Constituency 8, said.
The
number of voters over the age of 18 is likely to increase by hundreds of thousands, and those voters are required to be on the attendance list timely. And also it is very important that all the voters will be able to vote during the allowed hours of voting day conveniently. And only then will the voters be able to vote the one that they want independently and securely. If not so, it is likely to lose the voters and the numbers of the vote. We believe that the Commission has already prepared each and every of their plan for voting systematically and conveniently.
The asterisk mark questions that were raised for 2020 general election were answered by Umye A, a member of Union Election Commission.
The UEC conducted the year 2019 as the year of voter registration. By March of 2019, the number of voters was over 37 million, and this number didn't include the migrant workers, war refugees, the students in overseas with the government permission, and the military personnel and their family. The list of the voters are going to be announced on national newspaper, television, radio, and social media. The voters' awareness of the election is also underway, and the articles are being printed even in ethnic languages in posters and brochures. In some states and regions, the responsible person asked to allow increasing number of poll stations, and we have already permitted for this. We are preparing to ensure the complete voter list and not to lose the rights to vote, and to raise the public awareness and the interest of 2020 general election.
2010 and 2015 elections held on November 7th and 8th, respectively, were announced 3 or 4 months ahead of the accurate dates. On Wednesday, the parliament approved 2 amendments to the country's election law that would remove polling booths from inside military base and reduce the residency requirement for migrants to register to vote. According to the updated information from Union Election Commission, more than 37 million people will be eligible to vote in the election, and the military personnel and their families and the overseas citizens are not included in that number. Some political parties have begun preparing for the general elections as the government cautiously eases restrictions meant to prevent the spread of COVID-19. According to the UEC, there are 98 registered political parties, and 3 parties are still in registration period, and 1 party is in progress to register for 2020 general election.
The government is going to use over 50 million shots for 2020 general election. I am Pyithu Hluttaw. This is news reporting from Myanmar Radio.
That's a report on the UEC's preparations for general election underway despite pandemic. Election likely to be held in November. And we are now going to be joined by Xu Qingtuo, a senior journalist from China Media Group, for some updates on how businesses see China market and different impacts on different sectors. So, Mr. Xu, we have heard that recently the World Bank said that businesses see China as an attractive market. What is the reason behind this optimistic standpoint?
Well, as a matter of fact, China is the most complete manufacturing economy in the world. So in this sense, I would say China is the number one choice for a lot of investors because it's easier for you to do business. And whatever you invest in China, it's easier for you to be connected, linked with other partners, either in the upstream or in the lower stream. So you don't need to go outside China to bring back some of the parts or some of the services. And secondly, in China, there's a massive and competitive labor force, mostly from the nearly 300 million migrant laborers. They are well trained. They work hard, so that's a good choice. I'm pretty sure like a few countries can beat China in that respect. Also, as we know, there are more than 8 million, actually 8 to 9 million college graduates every year, and of course, plus a large number of vocational school graduates. So you have these skilled workers. You have this potential for a tremendous number of skilled workers. So in this sense, this is also very attractive. In addition to that, you have to look at the infrastructure construction in the country. In that sense, China is the most integrated infrastructure in the world. So this is the best in the world. Whatever product you have or services you have, you want to provide it to your customers or you want to buy services or products, it's easier to be transported from place A to place B, probably the easiest in China. So, despite all the talk in the United States by the politicians, to bring back the supply chain, to shorten the supply chain, or to bring back this manufacturing industry to the United States from China, but the decision will be made by the business leaders, by by those people who are investing in the manufacturing. So in this sense, of course, they are smarter than the politicians. They will make a decision based on where they can make money, where it's easier to do business. So in this sense, yes, China remains an attractive market to a lot of investors, to a lot of people in the world.
And we know for a fact that coronavirus harms some businesses while benefiting other types of businesses. Would you please elaborate on this?
Well, some businesses are being affected much more, mostly because of the nature of the virus. As far as we know, the virus can be transmitted from person to person most of the time. If you shake hands with someone, if you talk to someone in a close distance, through the droplets, the virus may jump from one person to another. So that's why we are practicing social distance. Basically, you want to keep far away from others. The further, the safer. So that's the principle. Under such a principle, so we take a look at some of the industries, for example, this airline industry, this entertainment industry, hotel industry. It is very difficult for people to continue to pay to visit such avenues, for example, the restaurants, because people are close to each other while you are having your dinner or your meals over there. So some of the people will feel, a bit concerned to go out, to eat out. They will probably to buy stuff and prepare food for themselves. So that's a great, I would say, bigger blow to this catering industry. And if you look at this airline industry, because in this small space inside the airplane, you have hundreds of customers inside this airplane. Of course, it is not spacious enough for people to practice social distancing. In that sense, you have to use a lot of, I would say, protective gears to protect yourself, to protect each other. So those industries are being affected the most, I would say. For other industries, for example, manufacturing, it's easier because for these managers to rearrange actually how we are going to work, and wearing protective gears or keep a distance from each other. That's something you can do. I would say the least affected industries are actually the industries based on the internet. For example, social media like TikTok, like Alibaba, like Tencent. Even for their employees, they don't need to sit under the same roof to work with each other. You can work individually at your own home and create the necessary stuff for your colleagues or for the company. So actually, instead of being affected, those industries based on the online service, they are enjoying the expansion of their services and their businesses. So some businesses are boosting because of the pandemic. Some are suffering the heavy blow from the pandemic.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Xu, for joining us here on Myanmar Today. We have more reports coming up. Stay tuned. COVID-19 pandemic caused all businesses to be in crisis, and people have to stay home to prevent themselves from being infected with the virus and place orders for the goods they are required through online delivery services. So, online delivery services are now thriving more than in the past, and the widespread use of online book delivery service has come to light. Take a look at the report.
Globally terrifying COVID-19 caused state-owned factories, industries, and economic enterprises all to come to a stop. The ban on mass gathering and events as well as festivities also created deserted streets in towns, and all businesses were in crisis as a result of the shockwave of the novel coronavirus. The global pandemic COVID-19 causes all the businesses to be in crisis at the time. The people have to stay at home to prevent themselves from being infected with the virus and place orders for the goods they are required through online delivery services. Therefore, online delivery service is thriving more than the past, and the online book delivery service comes into more widespread use. Speaking to MI Radio about during the outbreak of COVID-19, people are placing more orders for the books they want to read through online. Mi Mong Luen, founder of Ngadu Sapi and Weed Distribution, said.
Most of the employees are now familiar with work from home and they don't go out. In the bus, the employees came to bookshop in bought books in their rush hours. Now those coming to the bookshop are very rare, and most people are staying at home as much as they can. The people don't go out to buy a book. People place order for the book borrowed online, and at the same time, online book delivery service is becoming more widespread. Therefore, I noticed that there has been an increase in the number of online orders.
It was then that those coming to the bookshops to buy books became very rare, and Yangon City was completely deserted. But book distributors managed to run operation through online delivery service without breaking down. U Tun Tun Tan, who is the owner of Go Lab Bookshop, spoke to MI Radio about the number of online orders has been enormously increasing in the wake of COVID-19. He said,
COVID-19 made all our businesses come to a halt for more than 2 months. At that time, online service providers don't need to stop their operation and they can go on. Those who are not online service providers have been difficulty in delivering the books. In the wake of COVID-19, there has been an increase in the number of online orders, and payment is also made through online. Efforts are being made to sell the products, and delivery is done by postal service.
Once, book borrowing shops gained popularity in Myanmar, but later this pattern was changed into that of buying and reading books. The readers went to bookshops to buy. During the outbreak of the COVID-19, the readers placed more orders via online. Online book distribution service has become a thriving business. For the time being, most of the buyers can buy the books they would like to read through online, but there is still remaining difficulties in technology and cash payment. Speaking to MR Radio about despite going to online service, there is still remaining difficulties in technology. Matete, shop assistant of Sabiloka bookshop on Pansuran Street of Yangon, said.
The buyer has to pay more costs inclusive of delivery charge when they buy the books through online, but there still remain difficulty in technical know-how.
The COVID-19 brought changes in lifestyles and thoughts and ideas in the world, and the use of technical know-how is becoming more widespread. The entrepreneurs said technology-based online services would make progress due to the essential social changes. According to Nye Monlue, founder of Ngaro Sapi and Redistribution, he spoke to MI Radio about a difficult situation. The bookshops will have to struggle little with the difficult situation and they need to prepare for online services, he said.
Now
we are facing only a pandemic disease, but we cannot say one similar disaster occur. For that reason, the people won't go out anymore unnecessarily. I think more delivery service will be more widespread.
To report on online book delivery service coming into widespread use amid COVID-19. Well, that's all we have for today's reports. Let's take a look at the international news now. We will end it now, US President Donald Trump vowed on Monday as a dramatic escalation of a national crisis entered into the 7th day after the death of a black man in police custody. Calling himself the law and order president, Trump said that domestic terrorism was to blame for the unrest and the military should be dispatched. Trump made the remarks during his visit to St. John's Episcopal Church, along with officials including U.S. Attorney General William Barr. Tear gas and flashbangs were used to clear what appeared to be peaceful protesters in Lafayette Park across the street from the White House and near St. John's Church, which protesters set fire to briefly Sunday night.
My fellow Americans, my first and highest duty as president is to defend our great country and the American people. I swore an oath to uphold the laws of our nation, and that is exactly what I will do. All Americans were rightly sickened and revolted. That is why I am taking immediate presidential action to stop the violence and restore security and safety in America. I am mobilizing all available federal resources, civilian and military, to stop the rioting and looting, to end the destruction and arson, and to protect the rights of law-abiding Americans, including your Second Amendment rights. Therefore, the following measures are going into effect immediately. First, we are ending the riots and lawlessness that has spread throughout our country. We will end it now. Today, I have strongly recommended to every governor to deploy the National Guard in sufficient numbers that we dominate the streets. Mayors and governors must establish an overwhelming law enforcement presence until the violence has been quelled. If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them. I am also taking swift and decisive action to protect our great capital, Washington, D.C. What happened in this city last night was a total disgrace. As we speak, I am dispatching thousands and thousands of heavily armed soldiers military personnel, and law enforcement officers to stop the rioting, looting, vandalism, assaults, and the wanton destruction of property. We are putting everybody on warning. Our 7 o'clock curfew will be strictly enforced. Those who threaten innocent life and property will be arrested, detained, and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I want the organizers of this terror to be on notice that you will face severe criminal penalties and lengthy sentences in jail.
2 NASA astronauts have blasted their way into the history books. SpaceX's manned spacecraft lifted off from Florida's Kennedy Space Center Saturday and traveling 19 hours. It became the first commercial company to send NASA astronauts on their way. The Crew Dragon spacecraft carry Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken on a ride to the International Space Station. Hurley and Behnken are the first NASA crew to lift off from the U.S. soil on the U.S.-built vehicle since the Space Shuttle program ended 9 years ago.
And with the help of Elon Musk and the SpaceX team, we have delivered.
About 9 minutes after liftoff, the Crew Dragon reached orbit, a milestone on its journey. Cheers erupted from the NASA and SpaceX teams in Florida and California. President Donald Trump, who watched the launch from the Space Center, added his words of praise.
Moments ago, the world bore witness to the flight of the first new manned U.S. spacecraft in nearly 40 years since the Space Shuttle launched in 1981, a long time ago.
Dubbed Demo 2, this is a test flight. Its success will open the door for 16 operational flights to the space station using a SpaceX rocket and Crew Dragon capsule. NASA will no longer be the owner and operator of the vehicle, but the customer. In order for this partnership to work, Crew Dragon had to be built much safer and forgiving than the Space Shuttle.
From our perspective, a capsule design is a pretty tried and true design. It's a pretty safe design. It gives us abort capability from the pad all the way up into space, which the Space Shuttle, I think, has been well publicized, didn't have that capability.
With only one U.S. astronaut, Chris Cassidy, on the station right now, Hurley and Behnken could stay for several months to help out. So far, NASA has not announced when they'll be coming home.
In other news, authorities in Congo announced a new Ebola outbreak in the western city of Mbandaka on Monday, adding to another epidemic of the virus that has raged in the east since 2018. 6 cases have been detected, 4 of which have died in the city, a trading hub of 1.5 million people on the Congo River with regular transport links to the capital, Kinshasa. Mbandaka is 1,000 kilometers from an ongoing outbreak that has killed over 2,200 people in North Kivu province by the Uganda border, where containment efforts have been hampered by armed conflict. The new outbreak is Congo's 11th since the virus was discovered near the Ebola River in 1976. Well, that's all we have for now. Thanks for joining me on Myanmar Today. I'm Henry Zinn. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you again. Goodbye.